Hello, loves. Dijana here, and welcome to Nova Holistic episode 18. And today I've got a really extraordinary, lovely lady that is my guest. Her name is Mahatma Starseed, and Mahatma and I will talk. Well, let's see what we talk about. I think it's going to be really amazing where this conversation might take us, maybe to some metaphysical, spiritual, quantum concepts, but let's see. While I'm here, I want to invite you, of course, to join us, to comment, um, to ask any questions if you have any while we're live, or alternatively, ask any questions afterwards, and then either one of us can reply to those comments later on. Now, if you don't know, Nova Holistic is a podcast I started with the view of speaking or inviting entrepreneurs or people from all sorts of different backgrounds in order to, through storytelling, to illuminate this idea of holistic health and well-being. And I don't mean that in a way that's been like bashed around, for the last few years. When I say holistic, like truly, how do we live a life of complete authenticity, integrity of mind, of physical body, of emotional body, and your spiritual body, your soul, so that when you're in alignment and you're in your highest potential, you're actually in that flow and living that life, and that's in your sweet spot, in whatever it is that was your soul's vision for this life. So, on that note, let me introduce you to Mahatma. There you are, my darling. Hello, welcome.
Hello, peace and light, peace and light. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Mahatma and I were just talking before, and we hadn't realized about some daylight saving time shifting. So it's actually quite late for Mahatma over there on the other side of the world. Where exactly are you?
Right now, I am in New Jersey.
New Jersey, right. Okay. So I'm, consequently deeply grateful that Mahatma still made time to be here with us today, because it's 12 midday in Sydney, Australia, and it's like 9 p.m. on the other side of the world. um, so, Mahatma, welcome. I was wondering, so I've enclosed in the comments as part of this podcast your short bio, your information about your work. But I would really love it if you could connect with the audience, with the energy of this podcast, by speaking your truth, by telling us exactly, who you are, maybe how you got there, what is it that what is the work or your purpose that you that you are in this life?
Well, thank you for asking, giving me the space. I would like to say, overall, I am a community motivator. That's something that's so very unknown that I even find myself not saying it enough. But ultimately, I'm here to help motivate the community. I understand that in order for us to really level up, and this time of being that takes for us to get in community with each other and with ourselves, most importantly. So the way that I do that is I am currently doing what our people need right now. Because at the end of the day, it's really what is needed now, and not always so much what we want to do. So right now, our people need a lot of coaching. We need a lot of mentorship, a lot of guidance. So I'm playing in that field, helping people to see how to apply being more spiritually fit, mentally grounded, emotionally sound, physically available, So ultimately, there's an array of different things that I do. But I just sit here and just be that pedestal that a coach can be, without having somebody else in our spotlight, just placing a mirror that we say we want to look at, it's very difficult to keep on holding that. So that's what I'm doing, helping us stay balanced in who we are.
Okay. So immediately as you're talking, I want to ask about the language that is in resonance with your purpose that you use to describe your work, being community motivator, I think you said, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that. Why community? Like, why community? Because, in this reality, right? Third dimensional reality, socially, we live in a polarized reality, right? So mostly with that framework of perhaps mental conditioning. It's more like mental conditioning, right?
Right.
Where we are not so much all for one for all. It's like I'm out for myself, and if I win, then the polarity consciousness says that somebody has to lose, right? And so it's an interesting observation, as you said, that it's still a little bit unique when people are consciously stepping into their purpose of working with or through communities. So I'm curious to see how you got there and why motivation above other things.
I always tell people I got here because I signed up for it. I don't know why.
Yeah, and then there's that.
When you're probably late for like sign up day and you get the bottom thing left on the list.
Yeah, okay.
But ultimately, it feels divine and aligned for me. I tell a lot of people, the working with a community effort is not always going to be for everyone. So it's just something that's really, it's like easy peasy for me. And I mean to say that in not any way that's going to undermine what it takes for us to be in community. It's just really that, simple for me to step into it. And so the reason why community is so important is because, we're living in a community. This body is communal, it's an epicenter of communal structure, our liver, our kidneys. If you want to just be physical about it right now, they're all working in one. Even when I stepped into yoga, philosophies and understanding, and we know a lot of this stuff, but like when you hear it and you're like, and it's being really explained to you that none of our bones actually touch each other. They're held together with ligaments and tendons and stuff like that. And so like this whole body that you see is actually not just one whole slab. It is a fusion community of consciousness that is helping us to be. So in order for us to claim that I am like in love with myself and my wholeness, then that would mean that you feel and find a suitable place to live in your community. And so right now, a lot of people are just not finding a suitable place to live in their community, or maybe they're not identifying with all of the communities that they're a part of. And so we really need to find that fusion of what part of our community are we not letting in. And we have to be motivated for that. Like, if you're not motivated to figure out what part of you you're not accepting, then it's just really a moot point. And so, like, that's where being, you know, the support that a lot of people just don't know, like, how do I be motivated in myself? And I just pack a lot of motivation for myself and for those around me. And it's something that you have to want to lean into. It's not just something that you're just going to like just wake up and just like automatically tap into it. Are there people that are just like gifted to know how to lead a community? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that everyone doesn't have the ability to be a part of a community. And the reason why that's true is because we're already living in a community of ourselves. So that's why it's so important, because in order for us to be whole with ourselves, we have to see how we fit in another part of a whole.
Yeah. Okay. If I may, I hope this is okay. But I want to stay with, so you and I have spoken a couple of times, right? And I really feel like we don't talk very often, but I feel like there's a beautiful kind of soul sister energy between us, because we do similar work and we speak the similar language and have similar intentions, you know, heart intentions. So there's a really beautiful correlation between, you know, and a connection between the two of us. I felt that from, you know, from the first minute we initially spoke. So I think that that's really beautiful. And I want to mirror back, or perhaps reframe a little bit what you were saying. I think that this kind of a connection, or, you know, that we can have, really is available to anybody, like what you were saying, but it's not understood or consciously experienced until we are motivated to do that inner work so we can recognize it within us, right? That's sort of what you're saying.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I want to continue to unpack this community thing with you, if you don't mind, a little bit more.
Yes.
Because my experience is, right, that, you know, we all innately understand community because we need it, that whatever it is, whether it's an energy or familiarity or whatever the components that connect us are. We, like you said, we innately understand it, but in terms of stepping into a purpose that is of this nature, I had to experience certain things in my life. So I signed up to experience certain things in this life in order to really appreciate community. So I know what that is for me. But this episode is not about me. I want to invite you to share, what was it in your life that you signed up for, that you experienced, if you don't mind sharing, that led you to understanding the importance of this work?
Okay, so before I was really walking in my light, I was already like a significant part in my own family, the community that I already was born into. And I was very close. I'm very close with my cousins, and we started going on vacation with each other. And to the point to where it's like, you know, the last time we went on vacation, it was like, I think somewhere between 17, 18 of us. Yeah. Yeah. And it was that moment, it was that weekend that energetically it just felt so freeing, spatial wise, you know, cognitive wise. I was in the air of acceptance. I felt so free. I felt so clear to just be in my own essence. I didn't even expect that to happen, you know. And ever since then, I have been able to catapult myself to see how I can really help move the margin of how we get to show up for ourselves. And I said, if, because, you know, like I was like very trusted. I still am very trusted in my family. You know, like when it was time to like make the plans for this vacation, everyone was like, let her make the plans. Like she's going to consider everybody's emotions. She's going to consider what's right for this. She's going to consider how to do this and that. And I started really stepping back and realizing, you know, what I was stepping into, like just naturally, just being, you know, that significant role in the family, you know, the unknown leader, and like what it was able to manifest, because this just started from like just a couple of cousins saying, let's start, you know, going on vacation with each other, because we were already visiting each other here and there at each other's own places. And it was like, well, let's go on vacation with each other. And it grew. So by the time we got to like a size of 18, it was like probably like the third thing that we had did with each other planned to that extent. And being able to like corral that many people together, I'm like, I can only imagine what that would look like to corral 18, 19 intentional people. And what that would do for us, what that would open up for us, you know, what could we bust open with just having like a soccer filled team of people like rooting for like that one intention. Like everybody wanted to show up. And what made it like really, really special was that we kind of like went on a whim this time. We wanted to believe in some like airy fairy, you know, vacation deal that they were like promising us, like, we're going to tell you your hotel reservations. We're going to get it to you 48 hours before you fly out. And we're like, okay, we're going to believe you. And then 24 hours before we fly out, we find out we do not have hotel reservations. We were scammed. And within hours, we had to find somewhere to go because we were all flying out of the country, you know.
Wow.
And we were able to make it happen, you know, with the pulling of help and support and getting everyone to be okay with coming out of pocket with extra money until they got refunded from the not happening location. And we ended up having an amazing vacation. You know, it didn't really, you know, landslide us. Nobody came with like, everyone came with the like, okay, we're here because this is where we want to be. Like nobody was pressured to be here. And a lot of those things just like trickled in my mind, like getting people to show up when they want to be there, you know, being around people that are not there to judge you and they just want to allow you to show up. You know, these are like very dynamic things that we think that are not really important when we're communing with people, but it's devastatingly important. You know, for those that follow like Deepak Chopra, you know, he's one of the people that will sit there and say that the ending of our life is depending upon the acceptance of the community that you reside yourself in. So basically, if the community feels like they're going to die in their 70s, there's a very high chance that you're going to die in your 70s if you live and stay within that community of consciousness.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
You know, and so it's like, you know, being able to expand our minds, we have to be motivated to really pencil in and look at, how am I showing up in community? How can I make more of a mark? Because right now, a lot of people across the world, we're not really feeling like we are a part of a community, but we are very much so. At every point in time in of our life, we are a part of a community. And it also, like, you know, another way that it was coming up for me in my life was when I would have like very like, you know, deep conversations with people that I'm not sure if you've heard this, but I've heard it a lot. You know, I don't get help from anyone. I do everything on my own. You know, those stories. And I started rebuttaling to people, and I'm like, so how do you flush your toilet in the morning? How do you wash your dishes? If no one is helping you, then how are you getting the luxury of having this everyday life? You know, no one wakes up in the morning and says, gee, gosh, I'm going to have to mow the road so that I can make sure I can drive down the road to get to work. You know, community is there all the time. But it's like, are we placing the importance of how I'm showing up? Because we are making sure that people are showing up every single day.
So what I'm hearing you say here is that people forget or perhaps have different ideas of what community is. And community can literally be the community of organs working within you on a physical level to make sure that you're healthy or that you are existing every day, to the community that can be unseen. Like, for example, I don't know the builders that built the building that I live in, but I have a roof over my head. Right? So it's really, I mean, honestly, I hadn't quite thought of it in that way, but it's a really important, perhaps, first acknowledgement or initial acknowledgement in terms of, you know, if we are really feeling separate and isolated from people, maybe it's a really amazing way to begin to think about community, because we live in and with community, whether we like it or not.
Right.
That's so interesting. And the other thing, Mahatma, is as you're talking, I'm fascinated that your life has been, your learning, your mirrors, your observations have been from what you say or what you've said, at least in part through this journey with your family, an extended family. Mine has been completely the opposite. Isn't that so interesting? And yet here we are connecting on the same kind of, you know, highway, timeline, quantum fields and dimensions. We're like on the same page, and yet our journey to this conscious awareness is completely different.
That's the beauty of it, you know, that's the uniqueness. And that is the, you know, that's the part that we get to share with each other. You know, we get to help each other understand. And then that's another level of community that I'm really mastering to highlight, which is our frequency community. And our frequency community really affects us to the core, because at the end of the day, when we feel pushed to excel, it's most likely not the people that are resonating around you. Those are the troops that you've rallied. Most likely it's someone within your frequency family that's pulling you to excel, because they are part of your community. And so, like, when we find each other, we help each other move so much more quicker, because we're like on that same volume, and the pitch can be just heard so much more clearly, as opposed to if you're talking to someone that's like a 20 or 30 frequencies to the right. It's going to sound
I love that. Over there somewhere. Doing a cha-cha in the steps I don't even understand.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Community living, you know, there's so many
Yeah.
ways that we can connect. And the thought of being alone is just so obscure.
Yeah. And so then, to what extent is this idea of separation and polarity consciousness in this 3D? I mean, it's the most beautiful foundation for learning, but it's not a true reflection of what we are in our essence, is it? At all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, life is a kaleidoscope.
Mm.
You know, you think you got a handle of a form of yourself, and the universe will show you tomorrow another part.
Yeah, amen, sister. Ain't that the truth? Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, completely. Okay, so speaking of frequency community, are you up for having a chat about the energies at the moment? Like what's
Yes.
happening sort of right now in the ethers and these extraordinary planetary transitions that are happening right now. And mm, tell me about what are the messages that you've been receiving, potentially from your frequency family, let's call it, or your guides, or however you refer to them, however you speak to, your beloved team.
You know, the big message that I've been getting is that our frequencies out of our being at a frequency level wants to be front and center. You know, and being able to move the programming out the way, that takes motivation. Again, soft plug, that's elite motivation is why I'm here. Like, and so like our people really, I feel like is at a point of popping, you know, in the most hopefully beautiful cherry blossom way, you know, and being that it's coming in season, right? And it's just like this moment of like, at one point, if you have like a field of cherry blossoms, like there's not a beautiful flower yet, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's going to be like all over the place, and we're not going to be able to like not see it, you know, the truth of living and what we're feeling and experiencing. I'm happy for it because I get to be less hesitant to speak my truth, because along, like, you know, let's say like 10 years ago, you know, people would, because I would always tell people like, I can feel your energy. I'm, you know, and they'd be like, oh, don't read my energy. Don't give me your energy then. Like, like it's just open. Oh, wait, I can't hear you. You're muted. It says it right there. I'm paying attention.
Sorry. Thank you. I didn't even realize that. I thought that that was okay. Anyway, I had to, just FYI, I had to take my headset out because I think they went the charge. I lost charge in them. So I've just had to take them out, and then I forgot to unmute myself. Anyway, I'm back.
It's aligned. It's aligned. Yep. You know, speaking about the frequency and just popping out into another way, you know.
There we go, right there. Yeah.
I really enjoy being able to understand that, but also on the other side, even though everyone is having like this popping feeling, it's like a very slow, you know, there's no rush to get to where we need to be. I feel like there's a lot of pressure for us to show up where we would like to be, because we know we're supposed to be like this goddess, divine, you know, light flickering from my skin or something being. And it's like, okay, if you're not there, just be here, you know, and enjoy that. And it's really tough for us because you know, as human beings, we are going to be always wanting to be overachievers. You know, we always want to feel like we're going to get something done in a timely fashion, like we know what time is. So,
Yeah. Mm.
so living off of that, the energy.
Mm. So, I've got like 1,000 things going through my mind right now, with regards to what you were saying, and describing, you know, the collective process of maybe awakening, you know, in comparison or metaphorically as the cherry blossom tree or flower, which, by the way, is the most beautiful image. And I love that you speak in pictures, so you must be quite visual, which is the same as me. Yeah. I speak in those kind of picture ways. I use those examples when I speak to describe what I'm, you know, seeing either through my third eye or intuitively or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Not everybody's like that, but that's why I catch yours, because it's similar to mine. Yeah. It's just a really beautiful image. And you're right, because it feels like people's lights are coming on. It's like, you know, watching planet Earth and with all the different beautiful lights kind of coming on, being turned on, just sort of representing the illumination of the unconscious coming into conscious awareness so that we can create a purposeful planet or a more conscious life, as opposed to unconsciously shaping along
Right. You know what they said? You know what they said was, you know, hundreds of years ago, the scientists sent out the men to go figure out life, and then they forgot to come back. So we've been going ever since.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, we have.
We must be like the scientists is, you know, coming back to like, okay, bring it in.
Yeah. Hey, do you know, this reminds me, actually, I was listening to a podcast, I can't remember, recently, and someone mentioned to me or asked me, have you ever thought about the fact that when we talk about our ancestors, that those ancestors are actually you in a prior life? And I just went, oh, yeah, I see how that could be.
Yeah,
Totally
you know,
see how that could be.
yeah, totally. Because at the end of the day, you know, spirit is going to jump into something that's more familiar. So staying in your generational timeline just makes more sense. It makes sense to like, okay, I threw this pitch out at this time, you know, hopefully the wheel spins and throws me back into my timeline and with enough time to pick up where I dropped off. You know, and I've been, you know, getting into more historical ancient dialects and stuff like that. And so there's a community called the Sabian. It's like a spiritual community. And I was reading this book and they were saying like we embody the last 30 versions of our timeline. You know, so when we're looking to figure out like where these habits come from, you know, it's most likely from like one of the 30, you know? And so like being able to understand that, I mean, how can we not be from that? Because, you know, for the women are born with their eggs already in their uterus. So that means like I was inside of my mother while my mother was inside of her mother. And vice versa, and vice versa, and vice versa. So I got a bit of the life my mother was living before she even came close to thinking about me.
Yeah.
You know, so God only knows how many ancestors we got sitting.
Well, this is just it. I mean, from that microbiological, physiological perspective, it absolutely makes sense. This idea of inheriting, you know, behaviors and patterns and even memories and talents from other generations or past lives, if you will. Absolutely makes sense. Like it's in fact, and what's really interesting when I think about this from, you know, what I'm hearing people that are actually in the field talk about is how much sense, like logical, earthly sense, these spiritual concepts actually have now.
Yeah.
Whereas 10, as you said, 10 years ago, this sort of stuff would have just been taboo. And, you know, we don't talk about that sort of stuff because that's just, you know, that belongs to, I don't know, a community that's actually a cult somewhere over there, you know, in a
Right.
different frequency, 30 to the right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But now it's this incredible embodied and grounded awareness available to everybody on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's unstoppable. Especially with like how much people have dug into the history of the things that are still sitting here. And people are just like, you know, people are still baffled at the pyramids. People are baffled at how many other places there are pyramids still standing other than, you know, the Gizas that we've all known about. And then not even that, like I think I just recently learned within the last 10 years that there's 21 pyramids along the Nile River. And those pyramids are like actually in conjunction with I think it's 22 pyramids though, because it's in conjunction with the tarot cards.
Oh, is that right? I hadn't heard of that tarot card thing. I'd heard the alignment with, I don't know if it's like the Sirius star system or the Orion belt or like something in the in our Milky Way, like in the galaxy, in our solar system.
Also, they have I think it's called Pyramid Mountain over here in New Jersey, which I'm like, what? Jersey? And so I've been there. So I'm going to tell you for myself. So they set up these like, it's like they call it like floating rock. So it's basically like this huge boulder that is sitting on like 3 smaller boulders perfectly. Just like perfectly perched. And it's like they're not perfect size rocks and, you know, like perfectly slated. Like, no, it is so interesting. And then right next to it is perfectly placed rocks that you'll see the summer solstice sun come exactly through these 2 perched rocks.
Wow.
You know, so in Jersey.
Wow.
And we're thinking, you know, like the only places that are really ancient are like, there's like a lot of places like Stonehenge, just like all over the place. You know, when you really do the research and you really start looking into like, what are these somatics? You know, there's places, I can't really remember the place, but the ancients used to like carve out hills just so that they could see the certain constellations and stuff like that. You know, and it's like, okay, why were they paying attention to it so much back then? Because they had these abilities to move these huge stones without the kind of technology we say is advanced, you know, and we're like baffled. How are we more advanced, but we're baffled at how people did things thousands of years ago? I'm just, you know, it just makes you want to step back and say, maybe we've got it a little bit in the reverse, and they had something going. You know, don't even get me started on like the whole like.
Oh, I know, it's a workshop. You and I could workshop this. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about how this awakening of consciousness, it's not just like part of this awakening or waking up. What it's waking up is parts of us that have been dormant inside, that actually have this innate curiosity and appreciation and grace for this life and this universe. And it's all been kind of buried and suppressed in this techno age, I guess. But
Right.
And I'm not talking about the 21st century. I'm actually talking about the Industrial Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Again, bringing us back to the historical trajectory. Oh my God, spit it out. Give me some more coffee. But all of those parts of us are waking up. And as we step into this remembering, doesn't life just become extraordinary suddenly?
Yeah.
We can transcend fear, the fear matrix, and how awful everything is. And all of a sudden we can zoom out and remember all of this beauty and grace and extraordinary magical ways in we can be and are creative. And it just doesn't look that bad at all, does it? And this is not to romanticize spiritual awakening. It's actually the actual reality, because the reality is multidimensional and multi-layered.
100%. You know, it's this is what truth sounds like. And it is a symphony. It is poetic. It is harmony, you know, and that's creation at its finest.
Yeah.
You know, harmonious being is always happening, and a lot of people have only been able to see it from one side. You know, it's like they have two eyes, but they're only using one. And because of that, like if you cover half of your eye, you can see a lot of the room, but you know there's a part over here you're not seeing.
There's a blind spot. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's always there, and it's like, but are you going to be motivated enough to just ask those questions, to be the weird one, to be the out of pocket one,
to be curious?
Yeah.
To allow yourself to be curious.
Curiosity goes a long way. And honestly, in order for us to be able to be masters of our reality, we have to want to come in unison with all of the elements. Like a lot of, and this is like, you know, what we're being awakened to, even those that are already spiritually awoken. The spiritual people are being shaken too. So anybody that's listening and you're like, oh, spiritual people, they must have it really good. No. No. Everyone is getting shot. It's called the reality shot. And because a lot of people go really, really spiritual and then they forget that the physical matters. You know,
What is disassociation? In psychology, that describes disassociation.
Yep.
And actually abandoning a part of you. So stepping away and saying, no, I don't want that bit of myself. I'm just going to be over here and levitate in the corner of my bedroom and spiritualize the shit out of myself. Like, it just doesn't work, right?
Right. You know, and that's why I don't even, I really don't support like separative choices. I accept anger. I accept indifference. I accept emotional love. I accept all of that. But if you're going to use your feelings and emotions to create separation, well, that's when you're going to see me get off the bus. You know, I think my stop is here.
Mahatma will be your reality check, ladies and gentlemen. And it's like, hello, haven't you forgotten to commune with a part of yourself? Yeah, we call it community for a reason.
Yeah. Everyone gets a voice, you know, and there's no voice that doesn't deserve to be heard. And I tell that to people, you know, because a lot of people like to be angry. Cool. Be angry. Find out why you're angry, though. You know, and then like, how long are you going to go being angry for, which is cool. But it's like, what's your intention? If it's going to get you some valuable aftermath, by all means, show and tell.
Yep. Yeah.
But the results never lie.
That's right.
The results never lie. And I like this movie quote. I'm going to call it a movie quote. It's from Inception. I don't know if you've seen this. But there's a part in there where Leonardo's like, we need to feed this guy a positive thought. And the people are like, what? We're trying to get him to not do something. And he's like, oh, I don't know if you've noticed, but no one ever wants to actually not have something. You know, a lot of people sit there and they say, oh, I don't need that. Oh, I don't need that. I'm so good on that. But at the end of the day, you know, we do need to have affection. We do need to have, like, we were gifted. And I love to say that we were gifted with parents, cousins, uncles, aunts, and whatever they're giving you is a gift. Maybe it might not be so, you know, love and light that you want, but it's being given to you for you to see what you want out of it.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Which is exactly, again, we're closing, you know, another side, like what, you know, what I was saying before about how you and I come from different, you know, like experiences and still arriving or deriving similar, you know, heart-centered intentions and a purpose, but coming to it from, you know, in different ways. Yeah.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's all about what makes you happy. And I tell you this, that is the best cup of tea you can feed anybody. Is it gonna make you happy? If you think it's gonna make you happy, it's gonna give you something out of this. I am with you.
Excellent.
And then you watch the resistance still play in. It's so much fun. But it's like learning, like, it's not you. And I think that's the biggest thing that people want to really look for. Find that it's not you. But don't find that it's not you and it's someone else. That's creating separation.
Yeah.
You know, find that it's for you. It's not you, it's for you. And it's just, it brings us to so many things that can be for us instead of not for us. Because I am all about speaking into our universe. And if we just keep on saying it's not for us, the universe is going to say, oh, we're going to give them more of that because they keep saying that. And so we're just going to give them a whole bunch of not, because we know exactly what that looks like. If you spend time saying, oh, this is for me, you know, the universe is going to bless you with what you're unified with. You know, and if you feel whole and complete to say, you know what, this is for me, you have to finish what you're saying. You know, I'm just giving you the beginning part of the sentence, but it has to have an intent. You know, intentionality is so necessary to remain conscious, because once you're not conscious, it becomes unconscious, and you really don't have a wielding power against that.
Yeah. I think it's look, in my experience, once people begin to step more into conscious light and conscious awareness, it's really hard to pedal back and shut those parts down. It's like you can't unsee what you've seen, right? There could be resistance about how we might move forward or how we want to do things or what happens, but can't really unsee what we've seen. Yeah. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter, or however. But I think when there's enough insight, then we sort of, for the most part, transcend those primal judgments that separate us anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next thing is, usually the next thing is figuring out how to have that conversation that is in alignment, you know, because then we become separate with our conversation, and then we have to deal with that, you know, and we're like, well, I'm saying things that aren't really what I want to say. And I need to come into union now with my own conversation. And there's levels to awakening, because, you know, we are taught, you know, we just need to learn to use this body. We just need to learn this English language, or this, you know, whatever cultural language. And you can easily communicate to the person across from you. I'm sorry, but that's just, it's not good enough. We have to come into our union of our own tongue, of our own communication. And that is something that, you know, we need to go out and look for and spend time with, in order for us to like really feel connected with the words that we're saying.
Yes. You know, in my practice, I find that people it's not about not knowing how to speak eloquently. It's about not having the words for the feelings and the thoughts that are going on inside. So you're absolutely right that it actually takes a little bit of presence and a little bit of effort and motivation to connect those internal pathways, so that when we feel, we have the emotional dictionary to express most authentically, in the highest possible version, what it is that we are feeling, so that we can then, you know, transmit, you know, that frequency through the mouth when we go,
Exactly. You know it.
Yeah. So, my beautiful, beautiful, lovely, elite motivator community, is there anything that you wanted to add as in closing of this conversation, either with regards to your work or with regards to whatever it is you're doing at the moment, or anything?
Firstly, I just want to say I am so thankful that we came across each other. It makes it so much more easier to work within your frequency family.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening, just know it will, when you end up in the same space with someone that is vibrating similar to you, it will not be difficult. It will just flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you would like to hear more about me, more about the things that I've done, especially the episode that we have done, we were talking about conscious awakening on my podcast, EM Healing. You can come and check me out. My main brand is Elite Motivation 411. I am here helping individuals cleanse their reality. So the most important thing that I'm pushing right now is if you're interested in a 21-day cleanse, I help you to get more in alignment with your worldly, conversational, and your food. So there's worldly, conversational, and the food. There's so many ways for us to expand. But the first thing you have to do is cleanse that reality. And yes. I'm here to help. Let me know. Hit me up. Find me. Elite Motivation 411.
Excellent. Excellent. And like I said, I'm just going to repeat, I've already added to the notes of this podcast the information that you shared with me. So that's all there. People will be able to find you through the link that you provided and on socials. Yeah, I feel good to sort of close on this and to say again, I think probably echo your sentiment that you expressed before about the gratitude for our connection, the flow, and it absolutely, doesn't matter at all the age, the gender, the color, the geographical location. None of that matters because the frequency connection, the frequency family and community transcends that. And it is, and even with different accents and different backgrounds and different everything, it doesn't matter because it's such a genuine, heartfelt pleasure to speak with you and to share this beautiful conversation and to know that there's someone on the other side of the world that is intending and doing soul work that matches mine. And so there's a ripple effect and an even further expansion of this light that meets as you and I work together in that sort of, in that way on this planet. And I just love that. I just think it's so beautiful. And we may never actually meet in person, but again, that doesn't matter. Right?
Right. Everything flows in such a beautiful symphony. I am just happy that I want to show up,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of that connection because we're making that web, we're bringing it together. We're being the appendage.
Yeah, we are connecting definitely a little bit like those ligaments that connect the bones, the new structure. Years ago, I would download this information and it would come through the words and I would hear divine architecture. So I would speak to spirit about what that means. And I would be sort of given these really extraordinary concepts that I don't even know how I could possibly understand at human level, but at soul level or divine level, I was able to compute and make sense of the information that was coming in that I had never heard before, that I just had no concept around. What the hell is divine architecture? What do you mean we are building, a new grid around planet Earth and it's going to look this way or that way? Yeah. But yeah, all that.
I'm here with you.
Mwah. I just love your sweet, sweet, sweet soul, and energetic hugs and lots of kisses, and have a wonderful evening. I hope that you have a good rest. I know it's late now, but hopefully we've exchanged enough energy to help you stay awake with this conversation. And I will talk to you really soon, my darling. But if you can just hold on for 1 minute, I'll just close this podcast, and then I'll end the broadcast, and then I'll come back to you. Everybody, please say a beautiful thank you, and for Mahatma, and for her blessing this podcast with her presence and her energy. All right, my loves. So thank you for being a part of this conversation. I hope that something that was that we talked about today, something that Mahatma shared, or something that I perhaps shared, spoke to your heart, spoke to your mind, spoke to your body. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to share. And in the meantime, if you want to support this podcast, you can just, buy us a coffee, which would be really great. Or when you have a coffee, buy one for us. And that just, whatever donations we receive, or I receive through that portal, of course, to go towards continuing to improve this podcast. And on that note, I wish you the best and highest frequency in your life. May you enjoy the journey that you are on right now. Mwah. Bye-bye. Oh, hang on a minute. Ugh.